Alrighty folks, we are back in No Rest for the Wicked, and this time around we are doing some testing. Yeah, you heard me right, we are doing testing. I frequent quite a few forums and discords and whatnot about No Rest for the Wicked, and I see a lot of misinformation out there. You know, people saying that different perks work in different ways that they actually do. So we are going to try and debunk some of these and hopefully spread some more positive information on how certain things work. One of the things I did notice was there's some confusion on one particular perk. Let me see here. I think it's not that one. Yes, this one over here. Damage increased by 30% against large enemies. So what exactly is considered large enemies in this game? Is it just, mobs that are bigger than you? And which is actually the case. But then the other question is, does it actually affect bosses as well? Because in my eyes, it should affect bosses because they are, well, the biggest enemies out there, right? But then the wording started to make me think, they say enemies. So, wouldn't it not have said larger bosses? But yeah, I guess we're just going to find out, right? So for this, to try and get a baseline, we are going to start off with my normal standard claymore, which has absolutely no additional damage perks on it. And then we're going to work with my standard serum armor, which, as you can see, also has no additional damage perks anywhere, as you can see over here. And then we are going to be using rings that also have no additional damage perks. And then this, we will definitely be using this as our baseline. So let's go hit this guy over here. Nora Shadow is just patiently waiting there for us to give him a little poke over here. And here we go. Okay, so our baseline number is 250. So we're going to use that as our baseline. And then let's see here, what shall we try first? Charge attack damage increased by 20%. Let's start with that one. So that's currently slotted in there. So we preferably we are basically expecting that there would be a 20% increase in damage if we use this additional perk on our claymore. Let's see. And there we go, 258. So if I do some quick calculations, that is definitely a 20% increase compared to our base number. Right, moving on. We are going to be trying our damage increase by 30% against large enemies. So the question is, does this actually affect bosses? Guess we're going to find out, right? Why not? 30% is a big number. It would be great if it does actually affect bosses, right? So let's see. 279. Okay. So if we do some calculations again, 279 compared to our base number, and that is definitely right on the dot, 30% increase in damage. So yes, very easy to say that damage increase by 30% against large enemies is definitely works against bosses. So now the question is, here we go. If we put in a damage dealt increase by 20%, would that actually affect the number even more? Would that add an extra 20%? Let's find out. Since we're here, might as well give it a shot, right? Oh boy. Yep, that that definitely does increase the number, that's for sure. And let's see, let's do a bit of calculations here again, and yep, it's definitely spot on. That's an additional 20% damage increase. So that is You know, that is actually quite impressive, considering we add an additional 30% damage, and then on top of that we add another 20. So that's an extra 50% damage in total. Very impressive, if I have to say so myself. Now, another thing. As you can see on these gloves, there is a perk that says physical damage increased by 25%. I mean, surely, extra 25%? Why the heck not? That'd be great, right? Let's go see. Actually, you know what? Let's start with the baseline again. Put that in there. We're going to use our normal sword with no additional damage perks. So we work off our baseline. So that's just our standard claymore, our standard serum armor, and then we swap this out for the physical damage increased by 25%, and we swap that back in, so there's no additional damage perks on this. So in theory, we should be back to our baseline number which we started off with. Let's see if that is actually the case. Actually, no, that's incorrect. We are using the 25% increase. Actually, you know what? Let's start with our baseline number again. So we're going to swap that back. Everything is our default gear, just so that we can get our baseline number again. 215. So that is our baseline number. Okay. So now we are swapping in this gloves over here that says physical damage increased by 25%. And you will notice that no other perks on here has any additional damage whatsoever. So we are hoping that there would be a 25% increase in damage by just using those gloves. Whoopsie! Do not have run in. I was a bit over eager there. Let's just wait for him to reset and then we will re-enter the fight. Well, that's not really a fight at this stage. We're just poking him. We're using him as a test dummy. Okay, for science, you know. Okay, let's see. Just make sure we have everything equipped. We have the gloves that says physical damage increased by 25%. Let's see. Now remember, our baseline number is 215. Oh boy. Okay, so that is still 215. Which makes one wonder, right? What the heck does physical damage increased by 25% mean then? Huh. Tell you what, we've got some fuel winding gold. What's it? Gauntlets? Gauntlets, yeah. We're going to put those in there. We are going to swap our normal serum armor gloves in. Okay, so let's recap. So we've got just a average pair of fuel wielding gauntlets, and then our standard serum armor, which adds no additional damage, and our standard ring that also adds no additional damage. Let's just go poke him, give him a little love tap here at the back. That's 24 damage. Okay, so that is our baseline number currently, 24. Then we will be swapping in our gloves. It says physical damage increased by 25%. What do you reckon? Since we tried that with our claymore, it didn't add any damage whatsoever. So maybe they consider physical damage to be more on the... I mean, this is melee combat, right? You're hitting them. Anything is melee combat. Am I being an idiot over here? But anyways, we're just going to see how this... Hopefully it affects it more. Let's see. So that's 30. So that is... Oh my god. Are you for real? So we started... Our baseline was 24. And if we add in these gloves, this says physical damage increased by 25%. We get to 30, and that is actually the case. So physical damage actually affects fuel wielding gauntlets, and it doesn't affect any melee weapons whatsoever. That is definitely not something I knew, and I'm pretty sure there are quite a few people out there that were in the same boat as me that thought to themselves, surely physical damage increased by 25% would mean all damage dealt. Doesn't mean what weapon you are wielding at the time. So that is actually quite interesting. Okay, so all our other armor, they don't appear to have any damage. No, there's no additional damage on any of these. Yeah, so I think that concludes our testing on that side. But for added bonus, we are going to be adding in some tips on things that I think some people overlook. So yeah, let's move on to that section. Alrighty, moving over to the next section, which is exalting items. If you look at this body armor, you would see that everything has been exalted except for the last perk. And my total armor on this is 300 currently. But when you exalt the last perk, every single one on this, it moves up to 360. So that actually significantly increases the armor value, which is not something I expected, to be honest, because I normally just, left the last perk because my build doesn't use focus, and I figured, why waste materials and resources on something that's not really going to make any difference? But in reality, if you exalt every single thing, it increases the total armor, which is insane. I didn't notice that is the case. I think a lot of people out there is probably in the same boat. They don't not as observant as they should be, because I am definitely not. And that made me wonder, is that the same for weapons? So if you look over here, so the armor increased quite a lot. But if we look at the weapons itself, let's see, I have a claymore here that has been exalted to the maximum. This one here, everything has been exalted, and the damage is at 399. And then I have another claymore, which the last perk hasn't been exalted. Everything else has, but that's only a 380. So yes, if exalted, that goes to 399. Insane, don't you think? Okay folks, that's it for now. If you would like me to do more of these, just leave a like, a subscribe, and a comment, and that would definitely entice me to do more of these kind of things. Until the next time.